Welcome back, YouTube viewers. Sorry I'm only being able to turn these out on the weekends, but the weeks have been somewhat busy. I do apologize. Anyway, last time we did a lot of work on the shuttle bay section. I did a little bit of additional work. I moved back this wall a little bit. I'll show you how much. I also moved back this cylindrical section, and then I did a render, pardon me, to try and fairly closely match the angulation of this Chris Trice shot. And I did promise that, you know, if we did all this right and we had all the correct proportions and everything set, that in the end, our model should look like the actual production model. This is I think this is after the Enterprise was delivered, and there was a first restoration on it where they did some paint touch-up and so on. But before the big, I think it's before the big restoration where they did an over paint job on the unit and really put a lot of stuff on there that wasn't there during the series. Anyway. Our model looks moderately close to the original, and today we're going to move on to making, putting in windows and such on the engineering section. I just wanted to show a couple of little additional details. We'll be placing later on all the numbers that are on the hull. This is just underneath the warp engine pylon on the engineering section, and eventually we'll also be making textures. I'll show you how to put on a sign that says tailpipe socket adjustment access, just like the original. Thanks to William McCullars for hosting this, and Gary Kerr for taking the picture. And now just a couple of shots to help show some of the placement. So there are going to be numbers going towards the bottom. There are all these details on the bottom that we never saw during the run of the original series, because there was a pipe stand access hole right here that the Enterprise kind of sat on. And so this was darkly lit so that you would never see that pipe. But here are all the windows. And if you'll notice, the two windows towards the front of the neck and two windows here, and the placement of these windows. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because this window placement is essentially the production window placement. You'll even recognize how we did our windows up here on the saucer and on the neck. So we're going to try and duplicate this placement, because this is pretty much what Alan Sinclair has. Again, more Chris Trice pictures. Excellent resource. This is after the restoration. Okay, so I guess I was wrong. The other Chris Trice photo was also after the restoration, where they added in these additional details, which is too bad. I mean, they did an okay job, but I prefer it in its original state. This was when the model was brought, after the model was brought to the Smithsonian. They did some work on it. They started to try and match some of the paint and repair some of the damage to the model from over the years. This is what it looks like currently in the Smithsonian. They've done a restoration job to try and make it look like it looked during filming of the model for the second season episode, The Trouble with Tribbles. It was the last time there was an effect shot with the 11-foot Enterprise that was produced. Again, what it looks like today, post-restoration. One thing that's different is this spot here. There was a small rounded light that flashed. It looked kind of like a smaller version of the dome, but white. Now this is how the model looked during the very first pilot. It was delivered late. There was actually only one shot during the whole pilot that this 11-foot model was used for. And how can you tell it's from the pilot? Well, there are a couple of things that give it away. First, there are no lights in the warp engines. As a matter of fact, this is wood painted, and it has a spike in it, rather famous. Two, this deflector dish is extremely large. If you'll notice, there's the one external bump here that goes around, and then these two are cut into the deflector dish, and then it just keeps going out and flares at the edge. For the production version of the Enterprise, they actually went to this second inset cut and trimmed the whole dish. So it's the same dish for the production of the series, just smaller. They actually cut away this outside area. And there's no detail here on the arm. And a couple of things. Here's the real kicker. You'll notice that the lit windows are literally drawn on. The dark windows are similarly drawn on. I mean, there are literally no lights on in any of these windows. Also, this numbering here under the hull here and here are reversed. Later on for production, they flipped them so that this was easily readable from most angles that it was shot at, and that would include a shot like this one. So, so they reversed them for the production series, and there's no yellow mark here, and so on. A lot of details that we'll put in. Plus, on the neck, there are 4 of these windows on the front of the neck, and during production it was reduced. I think it's just down to 2. Anyway, you can actually see some supports inside the lower sensor array, and this is clear. It hasn't been frosted yet. So later on, this lower sensor array and this back dome were green when they were lit, rather like this shot from Gary. Now, this is a shot during production. Those of you who are familiar with the series will know that this is the Botany Bay Khan's ship, Khan Noonien Singh, and he's discovered in a cryogenic suspension out in space, having fled Earth during the Third World War. Kirk and crew find him, and Khan is bright enough to be able to take over the ship and was one step away from taking over the Enterprise and killing Kirk and crew. Anyway, you'll notice that the dish is much smaller. The windows, many of them are lit. The ones that aren't lit aren't actually even windows. I mean, they were cut in, but it's solid black. There was no way of lighting them. The warp engines are lit. The spike is gone. There are actual lights in the windows, in many of the windows. And this back here, although it's difficult to see, is actually green, and so is this, and up top here. The color is kind of faded. For comparison, back here, this wall and this plate here are deep blue. It was called a blue screen effect. But other than that, the coloring on here is pretty precise. You can actually see that the blue stripe at the front of the neck remains, and it did all the way through production. Here's what I mean. Here's a shot from the cage. This was the one shot that was produced and used of the 11-foot model for the first pilot, where we came from underneath, flew up and over, so that we could go into the bridge and start the action of the episode. But if you take a look at the neck, the neck has more windows than we are used to. And it is blue, which is kind of problematic because, like I said before, they used a blue screen as a way of cutting out the background. And, of course, we've got the extra-large sensor dish and the wooden warp engines with the spike coming out of them. This configuration was used again, or at least shots from this time were used in the Mirror Mirror episode. So when you see the Mirror Mirror Enterprise, it's got these wooden warp engine, these solid warp engine nacelle ends, and the spikes and the larger dish. And here, this shot is from StarTrekHistory.com, and it again shows you filming during the episode Space Seed with the Botany Bay and Khan Noonien Singh's crew. Although this is a restored shot and is in better condition, you can at least see the the what's called a photographic invisible blue in the background, and pardon me, and you can see the blue stripe that's still in the front of the Enterprise, but this is a restored shot, so some of the subtleties don't come through, but you can see some of the weathering, and you can see the lighting. There's active lighting underneath, on the side, on the saucer section, on the neck, in the front portion of the warp engine. You'll notice in the middle, all of this is dark, because that's where all the wiring came in on the other side. And then in the back, there are some more lights, including on the dome and in the back of the shuttle bay. Okay. I want you to open up Blender. Oh, and here's how I made that shot. I'll render it out and come right back. Okay, shot just finished up. And the only thing really left, like I said, I moved this wall back a little bit. When we get to the model, I'll show you where it's located now. It's almost behind this upper sensor dome. This is actually pushed back, this cone section. The cylinder section, it's pushed back till the front of the of the cylinder kind of matches the front of the sensor dish up top. Ideally, I think they are supposed to be over and under each other directly. But the one thing that, but again, this actually seems to match the 11-foot model, the production model. What I did was I moved back this wall, then I moved back this. The dome stayed where it was. As a matter of fact, the only thing left, really, to make it match the production is to kind of elongate it. I would move the whole dome up about to right underneath the window here, and then I would probably extend the bottom down. This is much more spherical than the original. The original has actually a slightly odd shape to it, but this is pretty good and looks representational of the original. And let's go into Blender. Okay, cool. All right. Now I'm going to move to the second layer just for now, so that we can see all the windows that we are going to be placing. So I'm going to go get a copy of one of each of our types of windows. I'm going to right mouse click on one of them and then shift right mouse click on the other. Shift D to copy them. Right mouse click and then move, and I'm going to move them to the second layer for right now. So let's go back to the second layer. It's now occupied. It has one of each of these. Actually, I don't even, yeah, let's leave them there. I'm going to go to the first layer. I'm going to grab our engineering section. I'm going to move it to the top second layer. Okay, great. Let's go to the top second layer. Now, when I had you make the rear section and make it thick so that we could imitate this look, but also get the thickness of the model in the back, I told you that we would not cut where there were windows. So where there are windows, the hull is still actually very thin. If I go to a solid mode, you can see it's just a skin. It's literally a two-dimensional surface. It doesn't have any thickness. But that's fine. We're going to be taking these windows and we're going to be placing them. We're going to be placing copies of them all over the surface of this engineering hull. Eventually, we're going to go to top view. We're going to once again delete half of this, pardon me, in the end, and then duplicate it, mirror it from left to right. So I'm going to Shift D, grab that, move it down here, and we are now on our way. I'm going to go to 3. I'm going to grab Y and move it just outside. Well, actually, you know what? I'm just going to place it out here. All right, cool. 1. Let's grab a port. Shift D. Move it down here. Okay, go to 3. grab Y, move it out here. All right, great. So we're gonna we're gonna duplicate and place all of our windows this way, and then we will move them back into the hull. So I've got a round one here, round port. Move that into place. Shift D. I'm going to grab X so it's right in line with our other window. As a matter of fact, Shift D, grab X, and move this one over here. I don't... Either I'd rather have it right on the line or out of the line. It doesn't matter which. So, like, halfway in, halfway out is a little worse for our model. So I'm going to place it just there. Shift D. Move one up here. Shift D. And move one here. Okay, cool. Now we're going to grab our rectilinear one. I'm going to center that up just a little better. Now, these look thinner in some spots and or shorter in some spots and taller in others. That's because of the angulation of the hull. We will also have that. I'm going to Shift D, move one down. All right. Shift D. Okay, now you can do this. You get the idea. Copy and place all the windows where they're supposed to be. However, if you look at it from front, they will be outside of the ship. That's okay. And then we will resume after you have all your windows placed. Okay, I've got almost all of mine placed, but like I was saying before, they are not aligned to the hull yet. And I wanted to stop here and show you something else that we will be doing. So I'm going to duplicate this circular port over here, Shift D, and I'm going to move it up. All right, now I'm going to go to Control 3. I'm going to go to Z and see if it's visible. It is not visible here. All right. I'm going to take that duplicated round port and I'm going to rotate it. Whoops, hang on. First, I should make sure we're on bounding box so that we're affecting only this. We're going to rotate -90 and grab Y and move this over the back center of the hull. One moment, please. Sorry about that. My cat told me that he required some attention. Anyway, I'm going to go to 7, and we can resume where we were. All right, the reason why I moved a round port up here is right in the center. So, matter of fact, I'm going to zoom in on this, and we're going to grab this and center it up as best as we can. Alright, so I've got it so that the origin, which is at the center of my object, is being bisected by this line that's going left to right, which represents the center. And you'll notice 3 spots. 2 of these are round ports. So I'm going to grab X, move this here, Shift D, grab X, and move this here. This is actually not a port. It's a light that sticks up slightly from the ship. So we're not going to duplicate that at the moment, and indeed I'll probably leave these 2 until we are done. This is not a window. This is similarly a light sticking out of the side, and of course we're not doing the numbers at this point, nor the number on the nor the window on the pylon. These are numbers, of course, markings. And what was I going to say? We're going to do the pylons a little later on. So now we're going to place the windows on the hull. So I'm going to go to Z. I'm going to shift how this is done. Now, in theory, if I grab this top, so if I go to 1, you can see that this is my top port, which lines up here. It's fairly high. So I'm going to go back to Z and rotate around so I can see the hull and this window. I'm going to grab Y, and I'm going to move it towards the hull of my ship. And where it starts to intersect, it starts to disappear. So I'm going to go in fairly close, and I'm going to rotate this in the X direction until it's perpendicular with my hull. So now, if I go to 3, and look at this, it is almost perfectly halfway in. So now, remember, I wouldn't move it down, I would move it in the Y direction. So grab Y, and the center of my object is just touching the hull. So some of it's underneath, some of it's up top, and that Z will center that port exactly where it's drawn on Alan's schematics. So we're going to do the same with each of these others. So you grab something, G, in the Y direction, move it until it intersects the hull, and then you rotate at least in the X direction. So rotate X. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to go to 7 and look there. You may have to, especially towards the back end of the engineering hull, you may also have to rotate in the, I guess this would be Z? Yeah. You may have to rotate in the Z direction as well to get it perpendicular. And let's look at it from 3. Not too bad. Whoops. 3. Grab Y. Okay. Cool. Rotate X. I think that's about as good as that one's going to get. All right, and we're going to do this for all of our windows and ports. Come back when you've got them all placed. I almost forgot. This is technically a window of some sort. It's about the height of a window, but it's about the width of 2 windows. So I've got one of my rectangular-ish windows centered up on it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tab into it. I'm going to pick B and select half the vertices on one side, grab X and move them so that they are about as wide as this window. A to deselect everything. B, select the other side, grab X. And then you treat it just like you treat all the others. Let's go into this. We've selected it. I'm tabbing out. Grab Y. Move it so that it hits the hull. All right, I'm going to go up top. I'm going to rotate Z. I'm going to go to Control 3. I'm going to rotate X. And in this particular case, I'm going to rotate X a little more. All right, and I see where the hull, where this is hitting the hull, but I want to see if it's about halfway through. So I'm going to tab into, okay, good. You can see the top of the window is here, middle is here, and the bottom is well inside the hull. So this one's placed nicely. Okay, keep placing all your other windows and come on back. I've got, so far I've got a good number of my windows placed, which is kind of neat if you go touring around your model. The ones that are placed well look like they're already in the ship, kind of. But what I wanted to point out was how to do the ones on the bottom. It's exactly the same thing. You're going to line yourself up so you can see what you're doing. You're going to grab Y, move it till you start to intersect the ship, and then I go to Control 3, see it from the back, rotate X until we're approximately parallel with the hull there. And instead of going on 7, I'm going to hit Control 7 and look at it from the bottom, of course, and then rotate Z. There we go. Control 3 just to confirm. And yeah, if I rotate around that, it looks well placed. So you can do that for top and bottom. Top, you hit 7. Bottom, you hit Control 7. Front, you hit 3. Back, you hit Control 3. And keep lining up all your windows. Okay, I am placing my last rounded port here. Alright, let's take a look. A to deselect everything. Shift middle mouse key to move around the screen, and then just middle mouse key to turn everything. Everything is placed except for these two, which I'll place. Actually, now, if I remember correctly, I've already got them centered. Yep. So what the heck? Shift right mouse click to grab both. Grab Z for up and down. Okay. I'm going to rotate Y. Grab Z. Move to my origin is hitting the hull. Rotate Y. And those are moderately well placed. Okay. So all of my windows are placed. You can even see them from the inside as well as the outside. A to deselect. I'm going to move my two originals out of the way so that we don't see them. Okay. So now we've got hull and ports. So actually, I'm going to take this hull. I'm going to move it to the third window. Pardon my cough. I really got to get over that. Now, I'm going to move to the third layer. My hull is selected. I'm going to Shift D and Shift D. I've now got 3 of them here. All right. Let's go back to the second layer. And I want to grab, I've got a peculiar habit. I was told a long time ago that if you subtract everything all at once, Blender does better. I don't know how true that is. I think sometimes with a more complex mesh, you don't want to do that, but it's still a habit that I maintain. So I'm going to grab one of my rectangular ports, and I'm going to Shift right mouse click all my other rectangular-ish ports. Doesn't matter what order, so long as I get them all. Even going to include the big one. All right. Now, before we go any further, I suggest File, Save Your Progress, because you put in a lot of work. Control J. They are now joined. They are one big object. And we're going to do the same with the rounded ports. We're going to grab right mouse click a rounded port, Shift right mouse click all the remaining rounded ports. Doesn't matter what order, so long as you get them all. With, of course, the exception of the 2 up top. We're going to do those later. Control J. All right, now, I'm going to go back to my third layer. I'm going to grab one of the hulls, move to the second layer, go back to the second layer. All right, now we have a hull, and for the most part, 2 other objects. The rectangular window objects and the round port objects. All right, so we're going to grab our hull, and we're going to go up to modifiers, well, let's apply the edge split. We can always apply another one later. Add modifier Boolean, of course. And we can leave it at intersect. Grab the dropper, and we're going to select our rectangular-ish ports. So now we've actually got, hit apply, we've actually got our rectangular windows. With those rectangular windows highlighted, I'm going to move this to the second lower layer just to keep track of it. Back to our third layer. Grab another copy of the hull, move it to the second layer. Go back to the second layer. All right, we've got our hull selected. Apply our edge split modifier. We're going to add another Boolean. Intersect is fine. Grab the dropper to select the rounded ports. Doesn't matter which one. Apply. All right, good. And, of course, move that to the lower second layer. All right. Last one. Let's go back to the third layer. Grab our third copy of the hull. Move it to the second layer. If you're really squeamish, you can always make a copy of this and move it off somewhere else. But I'm going to apply my edge split. I'm going to add a Boolean modifier, and this time we're going to pick difference and then pick the rectangular windows and apply. All right, now I'm going to grab the rectangular plugs. I'm going to move them off somewhere. Excellent. Highlight the hull. Modifier, Boolean, difference. Select the rounded ports. Doesn't matter which one. Apply. Grab the rounded plugs. Move. Okay, great. So now we've pretty much got our hull. It looks a little funky, but if you hit the edge, if you put it back on an edge split modifier, it will look better. The problem is, of course, it seems to indent these things. So we're going to go into our, we're going to split this thing in half. And we're going to, well, A. All right, so now what I want to do is, before we go any further, I'm going to want to remove doubles. So tools, remove doubles. It got rid of a lot of them. Okay, tab. All right, now 7. Oh, all right. For now, I'm going to grab these 2 remaining ports. We're not going to do anything with them yet. I'm going to move them off to the third top layer. Go back, highlight the engineering hull. Tab, Z, A to deselect everything. Now, I want to pick everything above the center line. I want to leave this center line alone. So from here on up, as a matter of fact, if you want to grab something and then Alt, click another one until you get, there we go. So now I've got a line of reference going all the way up my hull, 7. What I really want to do is I want to pick from that line and go forward. So let's see here. B to select. And go down here just above that line. All right, do we have them all selected? Pretty good. Pretty darn good. Let's row back here. We want to grab these. There's probably something on the bottom, so Control 7. Actually, let's do Control 3. Is there a missing? Does not appear to be, although I don't think I have all selected all the way up the middle here. This row is unselected. All right, so I'm going to delete these particular verts, and we've got some on the bottom that still need to be selected. I'm going to hit Z. I'm going to, so this is Control 7. B to select, and I'm going to go up and just pick that row of verts. As I was interrupted, I've highlighted just those verts that are sticking out on the bottom. I'm going to hit X, delete those verts, and we now have only half of our engineering hull, which is fine. All right, now I'm going to go to 7, Z, and from the top here, I'm going to hit B and just grab 2 vertices. All right, one on the top, one on the bottom. If I hit Z, it makes it a little more obvious. All right, so if I look at it from the other side, I'm now going to do something a little odd. Now, let me go to 7. So I'm looking at it from the top down, Z. That should be the very center of the engineering hull. All right, so now I'm going to go to Add Modifier Mirror. Oh, looks like a mirror X in this case worked just fine. I thought it was going to be Y, but nope, X is fine. Make sure to turn on clipping. We won't be able to apply this tab until we tab out. So I'm going to move this up and apply. Actually, I shouldn't have done that. Control Z. All right, so now we've got the mirror on. I'm just going to kill the mirror. All right, here's why. We still have to take off the backs of those windows. So Control 1. We now see the inside of the engineering hull. Whoops. Our machine was having a conniption. Control 1. Shift, middle mouse click. All right. Tab A to select everything. Just going to make sure there are no doubles. And I'm going to save this file. Save, because obviously if I'm having problems, I don't want to have problems. A to deselect everything. And then I'm going to switch over to face view. Now, what I want is I want to go in. I want to grab these back faces here. I'm going to go to vertices. They're all selected. And I'm going to hit X vertices. All right, cool. So, you know what? Let's try this. Face, X. If I do face, just the face will go. So I want vertices anyway. And yeah, okay. I think that's working. Yeah, that's working all right. Left us, now this face here is actually this rectangle, and this face here is actually this rectangle. So, all right, so I'm going to select that face, X vertices, and we're going to do that for all the round and square ports on the engineering hull. Come back when you're done with that. Okay, last one. X vertices, I think that's the last one. Yep. Okay. 1. Tab. All right. So we've got half a hull. We've got a whole bunch of holes in our hull. 7. All right, now I don't think I moved my 3D cursor. Oh. But just in case. 7. I'm going to go back to vertices. That's actually the center of our hull. So Z, B. Okay, so I've got top and bottom. Shift S, cursor to selected. There's our cursor. All right, A to deselect everything. 7. And now add modifier mirror. Turn on clipping. And we'd have to tab out of this to apply. I want to move it up. Tab. Apply. Okay, cool. Z. And now we've got left and right are the same with all the windows cut into the hull. Very nice. Very nice. Okay. We're going to move this back to layer 1. We're going to go down here to lower layer 2. And we've got all of our windows. Now they look smooth and rounded. So we're going to add that edge split modifier. Add the edge split modifier. Now I'm going to go over to materials and textures. I'm going to get rid of hull gray. I'm going to substitute glass. Same with this. Delete the hull gray. Grab glass. Okay, so we're going to move these to level 1, move these to level 1, and we're going to go to, oh yeah, we're saving those for later. Going to go to level 1. All right, so we've got windows on half. All right. So our cursor is still in the same spot. I'm going to go to mirror modifier. I'm going to go to modifiers, add a mirror modifier. X is good. Move it up. Apply. I'm going to do the same with the rectangular windows here. Mirror modifier. Move it up. X. I'm not hitting clipping because they're not touching. And apply. Okay, good. Z. And we've got something that's starting to look an awful lot like the Enterprise. Nice. A to deselect everything. And next time we will tackle the interesting shapes at the back of the shuttle bay on that lip, because it's very similar to Windows. And last item before we go, I'm going to just hit hold down Shift key and left click the third top layer where I've got my 2 remaining windows here. So I'm actually going to highlight my hull, Shift D to make a copy of it, and I'm going to take this round port and Shift right mouse click this round port, Control J. They are now one item. I'm going to grab one of my hulls. I'm going to add a Boolean modifier. Move it up. Intersect is fine. And I'm going to grab that double port up here and apply. Okay, good. I'm going to grab my engineering hull. Add another Boolean. Move it up. This time we're going to do difference. We're going to pick those same 2 round ports. Apply. Okay, cool. Now we're going to move these 2 ports out of the way. We don't need them anymore. And look at the top of our hull. Okay, cool. Actually, I'm going to move this to the second layer. Let's go to the second layer, get everything else out of the way. I'm going to do just like we did with all the other ports. I'm going to go to face mode, select this face, X, but I'm going to pick vertices. Oh, wait a minute. Pick everything. And I'm going to go remove doubles because there's doubles here. All right, cool. Now I'm going to go to face selection mode. Just pick the face. X vertices, and because there are no doubles, X vertices. Now we've just got 2 open ports. Very nice. And tab, move back to layer 1. And if we go to layer 1 and select those 2 round ports, go to materials, delete the gray on the windows, not the hull, and we're going to go to glass. Okay, cool. So now we've got all of the windows on the hull. We've just got to add the lights on the back here, which are very window-like, and we will do that next time. And then after that, we will make the pylon supports for the warp engines. Great job, guys. Don't forget to save your work. File, save, or Control S, and I will see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't. That way, and there's a little bell icon. If you hit the bell icon, every time I turn out a new tutorial, it will actually notify you. So thanks. See you next time.